It's the week 5 edition of the Coach's Corner on RFM Audio. Great to have you along with us, alongside Leominster High School Head Coach Devin Gates. I'm Todd Robbins. Great to have you with us for another week of Coach's Corner as we break down week 4 action. Leominster, a winner over Shepherd Hill down in Dudley by a 45-14 score. And then look ahead to week 5 action, where Leominster will get back on the bus, and it's a trip through commute traffic to Peabody for Leominster and Peabody, a battle of undefeated football teams. We'll get more on that coming up later on as well. But Coach, let's start by looking back at this 45-14 victory. Proves your team's record to 4-0. And, right off the bat, quite literally at the start of the football game, Shepherd Hill runs one play and achieves something that other teams have failed to do thus far this season, and that is score first. But it's one of those things where it just seemed like maybe for a moment, it was the kind of adversity that your team needed, in that you were faced with having to play from behind for one of the first times this season and see what your team would do.
Yeah, I mean, they caught us sleeping a little bit. We didn't come out and play the right way. But yeah, I think that we definitely needed some adversity that we need to overcome and be tested in that way going into the second half of the schedule here against a real tough team. So, obviously you want to go out there and execute. You don't want to have those breakdowns, but in terms of being us being able to refocus, make adjustments, and work on that kind of the part of being behind and fighting through adversity, the kids did a great job. Coaches did a great job making the adjustments. So definitely served as a learning experience and one that we needed, that we're going to need moving forward.
The part for us that, from a standpoint of the angle we had from the other side of the field, was just trying to figure out how the running back Harrison had enough room to fit up the sideline, because traditionally so often Shepherd Hill's plays stay so close to the ends and kind of hook in either direction, depending on which direction the play is going. So as the play stretched closer and closer to the sideline, it seemed to me that the sideline would become the 12th defender on the field, that there would be no place for him to go. And somehow he found a window to move his way up the sideline.
Yeah, credit to them. They kept on stringing it out and had the blocks out there. They were able to seal us in, and you only gave him about a 2 or 3 foot edge there right before the sideline. And, he was able to turn the corner and get upfield. So well blocked play by them, and our guys, learned from it and they made the adjustments, and they did a great job the rest of the game. I don't think we got beat outside for the rest of the game. So, again, a little bit of a breakdown. These things are going to happen, especially against a tough team like Shepherd Hill, but really proud of the way our guys responded after that and buckled down.
Let's stay defensively for a minute before we get to the offensive side of things. And we've talked about this year in and year out, because when you play these double wing teams, it's a little bit of a different brand of football than is currently in vogue. It was, it's a type of offense that is tighter, more physical. And it forces your defense to have to track the ball and obviously track their assignments and lanes so much more perhaps than even a spread would, which of course is attempting to just take and spread the field as wide as you can to create as many holes as you can. In this case, it actually kind of contracts all of the space and leaves very few holes. Your defense seemingly used this week's practice and used what they saw on video and actually stayed and followed what they were seeing throughout the game.
Yeah, I mean, they hadn't shown too much of trying to get outside here. So, I think we were expecting more of an inside run, coaches especially, and, in terms of the play call, and, it just, it worked out that way, and they, good on them for making the right call and getting out there. But, we did practice a little bit, but, with that offense, you're more worried about, all the pulls and the counters and the double handoffs and stuff like that. They usually attack, inside the tackles.
Proportionally speaking, I feel like that was more Shepherd Hill spread than has been run maybe in the last 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons. It seemed like, maybe they 1 or 2 plays, the video from the game against Fitchburg, they had run that spread, at least once or twice. But it seemingly they thought they had found something there, and your defense kind of switched gears again and went back to maybe the more conventional than what they had seen.
Yeah, I mean, it's still, in my book, it's still, more or less a triple option, offense for them too. And Coach Buchanan, that's been his, his upbringing, through West Boylston. Then he did kind of spread triple option at Quabbin. So just kind of infusing kind of the two, the two styles, and I think the more they do it, they'll get better at it too. But, it is a nice wrinkle that you got to prepare for, in terms of your defense. and account for it. And I think Coach Benoni and the kids did a really great job of being able to recognize the tendencies in both sets and be able to attack them.
Let's switch to the other side of the football and talk about your offense, which again hung a crooked number on the opposition, 45 this week. Back-to-back touchdowns for Caden Drinkwater, and really kind of punched you guys ahead and gave you maybe that little injection. And I think to me, it's what stands out with Drinkwater's play is his ability in contested situations. In open space, obviously an incredibly dangerous athlete. And for somebody his size and speed, you would certainly expect that. But it's the contested plays, the plays where he is either out of position, the ball is underthrown, he's double covered. He somehow wills himself to the football and firmly believes he's the one coming down with it.
No, absolutely. There's no denying that ball goes in the air. He's intends to catch it. He expects to catch it. And, he's shown that, through the first 4 games here. So, probably one of the better receivers I've ever seen at high school level, let alone at the D3 college level where I coached before, that can go up and make those catches in traffic. And, just his aggressiveness towards the ball, his hands, his strength of getting the ball. It's impressive for someone his age. He did a great job making some of those plays and, sparking some stuff offensively, and the rest of the guys followed suit as soon as we were able to kind of get some points on the board and loosen up a little bit, and, just all kind of, went our way from there.
Osiris Lopez played point guard again on this night, 6 passing touchdowns, 5 different receivers, including Juan Miranda, who made his first career catch and made it count for 6 points to go with it, which is an incredible opportunity as well, and a great story to go with it. But to me, more than just the distribution of the ball, it's again a display of the diverse set of weapons and options you have, and the ability to just say, okay, let's send out this person and they can go make a catch, and this person can go make a catch. It is a really fantastic situation from a coaching standpoint to be in.
Oh, absolutely. I think we're 2 or 3 deep at almost every skill position where we trust the guys that go out there, with Noah Mackay, Stinson Newton again, and you had Braden Martin running tough in there. Then Xavier Cora, breaking some runs as well. Brian Aguilar had a great game, probably his best game so far in terms of offensive production. And then Juan had a great week of practice. He was injured earlier this year and he's kind of been back and forth trying to get back in the lineup, but did a great job in practice, did whatever we asked him to do. Then he had his opportunity and he made the most of it. So I think we have a lot of guys that, once they're able to kind of have that opportunity, you're going to see, some more guys even contribute too. So excited about, the guys that we have, and everybody's kind of step up to the plate, next man up mentality, and they know that once they get their opportunity that they're prepared for it.
Brian Aguilar had a great catch in traffic as well for his touchdown, on the day as well. It was another contested play where he kind of, dipped and slipped and got his way by his defender after making the catch, in close to the goal line as well. One more defensive note that I kind of left out, but I want to end with it because it was how the game came to an end, and that is the pick 6 for Steven Diaz. And I mean, it was the cherry on top of this one in being the last score. But I mean, Steven Diaz is becoming a name that we're talking about on the broadcast week in and week out, and therefore we're talking about it on, Steven again on the show again this week. I mean, making his mark week in and week out and finding a place to make a play when the ball comes in his general direction. And I'm not sure how wide open he ended up on that play, but he was gone.
Yeah, it's actually funny. Through all of our film study and all of our, in practice and all of our walkthroughs, and I've talked about it ad nauseum before. Coach Benoni is really meticulous in his breakdown of everything. And, I think they ran that same bubble pass earlier in the game too. And, Steven said if he saw that action happen again, he talked to Ricky and said, I'm going to break for it. You cover my guy. And that's what happened. So actually right before that play, Steven had talked to Ricky and said if he sees that quarterback open to wind up because he had a little bit of a slower delivery out there, that Steven thought he could jump it and make it. He just wanted to make sure he was covered on the back end. So him and Ricky kind of switched responsibilities there. And that was Steven's call, and we're able to do that. And the kids understand, by making that play, but making sure that you're covered on the other end by a teammate and not just going to make it on your own and leaving something wide open. That shows understanding and awareness in what we're doing. It also shows a lot of trust in your teammates, a lot of confidence to go out there and make a play. So hearing that after the play happened, Ricky's the one that came over and told me on the sideline. But there are some other things like that have happened this year that really proud of our guys and how they've taken to what we wanted to do this year.
That is a combination, I've got to imagine, of, I mean, as a coach, an incredible point of pride. And it's not freelancing. I think sometimes coaches, they want things the way they want them. They see it almost video game-esque, I press square, they go here. That's how I see it. But as you point out, it's a point of maturity and taking what they've been taught, what they've instructed, how they've planned their game plan to the next level in being able to say, okay, I understand schematically what we're trying to do. I see this. If I do this, I need my friend, teammate, what have you, to go do that, and to see all those chess pieces. And that's playing a three-dimensional game in a two-dimensional world sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it really was impressive to hear him say that and to notice that situation and go then and make the play. So, again, really happy of where we're at right now with understanding everything that we have in front of us. And I think our approach to, the kids' approach to the practice week, the coaches' approach to breaking down things, I think we have a good system in place right now. And it's, like I said, it's really showing up on the field and, with kids making some of these plays and, even some of the adjustments that I talk about with some of the kids offensively on the sideline when they come over and, after a series and, we could probably go to this next coach, or they understand what we're doing. They understand the next level of what we want to get to and the counters off of certain plays when teams want to try to take some stuff away. So they understand the tools they have in their toolbox to combat any problems. And they're able to have that conversation with us. It's really more so than, I've had, as a coach for college and high school, that collaboration between coaches and players. It's really something special this year.
Oh, and no question about that. Leominster now 4-0. Shepherd Hill falls to 1-3 through 4 weeks, with Leominster's 45-14 win on the road in Dudley last Friday night. Elsewhere in week 4 action, Wachusett tops Acton Boxborough by a 49-12 score as the Mountaineers keep right on rolling. St. John shuts out Fitchburg 37-0. The Red Raiders now fall to 0-4 on the season. Saturday night, Shrewsbury blanked Algonquin by a 28-0 score in what was perhaps surprisingly one-sided in that football game that you heard right here on RFM. And then Peabody improved to 4-0, cruising to a 40-7 victory over Marblehead in week 4 action. And of course, Peabody represents Leominster's week 5 opponent. More on that coming up. Coach, before we leave week 4 entirely, right before week 4 action began, that very same day, the first release, the first draft, if the playoffs began today, power rating appearance came along, and Leominster in Division 2 appears at number 15 at that time with a 3-0 record. Kate told me after the broadcast that I've got to find a more succinct way to explain this. So we're going to try to do it right here and now, which is simply that Leominster has got the maximum number of points that it can possibly earn on their own. Their opponent's score is negative because they're saying that the strength of your opposition schedule is lesser than, and therefore it is a deduction from the points you've earned. And thus you have a power rating that is sub the 14 that you can earn as the maximum on your side of the scale. Thus you fall to 15, but that would be, if the playoffs began, good enough to make it in, through 3 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, it's the equation is what it is right now. And, I think it was more based on basketball and baseball on a 20-game schedule and not an 8-game schedule for football. So it's not perfect. I know that they're working on trying to, have other benchmarks or other, qualifiers that, kind of prevent, teams that, 3 win records that are getting in, that should be there for, teams that win 6 games like Algonquin last year. So I wasn't surprised by where we fell right now. I mean, the first part of the season, we on paper, it looks like we play a lot of strong teams and, and they're great programs, having, years that are uncharacteristic for them. So we knew kind of where we were at and what that meant for us, power rankings wise. Now getting into the second half of the schedule this year, the competition level will be higher. It's going to be, some tougher games. So, if we can take care of business on our end, I expect that we'll climb those power rankings a little bit, but we've got to take care of it on our end. It's not anything that we can worry about. Or it's not something that we're going to talk about, the players or the coaches. We're just going to keep our approach going the way we have. and can control what we can control. That's it.
I'm interested in kind of how that has to feel a little bit. And we've, of course, speculated and heard from Coach Allen how it felt last year to be that team that was 6-2 and left out. But at the same time, I've got to imagine there's a powerless piece to this where, as you point out, on paper, the first half of your season, these first 4 weeks, these are games that in the last year, 2 have been phenomenal programs that you would have been in dogfight battles with, and that should show strength in that process. They're also teams that are traditionally part of the Central Mass equation. And so you're both powerless and unable to do anything about it. I mean, this is the schedule. You play the schedule, you beat the teams that were put in front of you. What else can you ask for out of a football team than that?
No, and that's it. And that is kind of the part of everything that doesn't sit well with you. You go to take care of business, the kids put in the work and do that. And, I felt for Coach Allen last year, for Coach Robbins at Worcester Tech. I mean, those schools should have been in my opinion. But again, it's everybody knew what the formula was coming in here, and theoretically they should have known what the formula. It was all out there for everybody to know anyway. But yeah, it's you feel for the kids in those instances. But again, it's not something that we're going to discuss right now or lament over where we're at and think we should be here, we should be there. Like, no, we're going to go out and play the games. We're going to do what we can to win the football games, and let the chips fall they may after. It's just a situation we're in, and we're not going to complain about it. We're not going to we're not going to dwell on it. We're just going to go and take care of business.
Yeah, no, and it would definitively, it's an odd feeling to have to,
Sure,
a team that is 4-0, through 4 weeks, that is the ultimate, the pinnacle of 4 weeks of excitement. And you're, left with this mix of feelings. And like you said, there's nothing you can do about it. So why worry about it? Move on. It's something you deal with 4 weeks from now.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of it's going to sort itself out. I mean, teams have to win at least 3 games to qualify, and there are teams above us right now that were 0-3 on there that play tough schedules, and that's where they're getting their points from. So, but like I said, you got to win 3 games to qualify, and it's a possibility that some of those teams won't win 3 games. So, again, and we just got to take care of what we can take care of, and not worry about how anybody else fares, and and all that. So, that's where we're at.
I defy the math to leave an 8-0 team out of the playoffs.
It doesn't seem possible that would happen, but again, we got to take care of business on our end. We have a lot of tough games coming up, starting with Peabody this Friday.
No question about it. Week 5 around the region. Before we get into Leominster and Peabody, Catholic Memorial's at St. John's in Week 5 action. Shrewsbury travels to Walpole. Shepherd Hill at Algonquin in another Central Mass battle that is going to help shake out this picture a little bit more. Wachusett leaves the friendly confines of Hal Lane Field in Holden for a trip to Salem, New Hampshire on Friday night, and Marlborough travels to Crocker Field in Fitchburg, with the Red Raiders searching for their first victory on the season in Week 5 against a Marlborough program that's having a resurgent season once again. Difficult task for the Red and Gray. Week 5 action here on RFM Audio, as well as across our partners with Leominster TV, WLPZ 95.1 FM, and Tucka56radio.com is the collision between 2 undefeated teams, an undefeated Central Mass team from Leominster and an undefeated Eastern Mass team in Peabody, both 4-0. And Coach, I always love these stories, especially as we start to figure out, how do you go build a schedule that is beyond your region of the state, which has been, kind of the confining point for so long in the history of football in this state. So I always love hearing the story. How did a Leominster Peabody game come to pass? How did this end up working out?
Well, we had Wachusett in the slot last year, and Wachusett want to go in a different direction, so they dropped us from the schedule, and we kind of moved some things around with Shrewsbury. We were actually going to play Shrewsbury at the end of the actually in Week 5, and then play somebody else at the end of the year. But going through the MIA site and talking to other coaches, we found other schools that had some Week 5 openings in Walpole and Peabody. So we ended up setting up with Peabody, and Shrewsbury took Walpole, and that's kind of how it got to be that way. But we were looking for Eastern Mass teams in division, or close to, in division or higher, for us in terms of what we were looking for.
Sure.
And we found that in Peabody. They think they were 17th in D2 last year, just missed the playoffs. But we knew they had a whole lot coming back, and they'd be a tough challenge. And, they have a really good squad, well coached, do a lot of things really, really well, a lot of great athletes. Definitely our toughest test so far. And we're looking forward to that challenge.
And they're kind of the interesting example, because on that very same sheet where you were in the power ratings 3-0 and only good enough to be 15th by the math, their same 3-0 value put them top 10 in the same division with only, the same earned number. They had the same 14 points in their column with just a power rating that, instead of being a negative number, was a positive couple of points, which turned things around. So, the difference between being 15th through 3 weeks at that time and being top 10 is a thin margin mathematically.
Very thin margin. Yeah, very thin margin right now. So like I said, there's a whole lot that's going to shake out. And, with every week, there's going to be movement. So we just, like I said, take care of ourselves, take care of our kids, make sure that they know what they're doing, and, the rest will fall into place.
This matchup feels interestingly perfect for the month of October, is it's kind of inherently spooky. The more you read about how Peabody season has gone and you spend time covering Leominster the way we do, it feels very much like two teams that were kind of separated in a football berth this season, as it just seems like they are scoring at a torrid pace. Leominster certainly this year scoring at a torrid pace. And in a lot of ways, it feels like this is going to end up, because the offenses are so good, an incredible challenge for both defenses to try to stem the tide that both teams are going to bring offensively.
Yeah, there's certainly challenges. Their quarterback, Shea Lynch, is the senior captain. He does a great job of getting the ball out quick. He's got a ton of weapons. Danny Barrett is probably his top target. And Eli Batista is another player that's really good for them. Real good lateral agility, quickness, real tough kid to tackle in space. He returns kicks for him too. So yeah, defensively, it's going to be a tough task. I think they have some younger guys on the line, but we'll have to see how they hold up against some of our guys here. But I think athletically we match up pretty well with each other. I think we're really, kind of like you said, separated in a football berth. We're really kind of mirror images of each other, to some extent. And, I think we have a lot of like-minded coaches on each side of the field here. So it's going to be a fun matchup. We're really looking forward to the challenge that it presents. And, we haven't played a team that's really, been this pass heavy or this, or this, this spread, true 4 wide spread. We haven't had that, since probably St. John's a couple of years ago. Most of, as most schools in Central Mass here are either wing T, double wing or I formation. So it's a lot of old school football in Central Mass. But you're going to see, on the other side of the field, you're going to see a lot of what we've tried to do this year as well on offense.
Those clashes between St. John's that you raised from those years ago, when it was spread on spread between Leominster and St. John's, led to some exciting offensive matchups. And again, defense played such a key role in which defense could actually slow down the opposition in some way, shape, or form. You might not be able to stop them entirely, but you can certainly look to slow them down. Strategically, as you look at them from a defensive standpoint, again, similar parallel?
Yeah, similar parallel. They've played some other spread teams, so they've been, they're going to be really similar defensively in terms of their scheme as Shepherd Hill was this past week. So you're going to get a 6-man box, almost like a 3-3 stack, but you'll see them shift a little bit in terms of what they want to do. But usually it's going to be a 6-man box. They'll play, coverage with the other 5 defensive backs. And, last week they tried to take away, or they did take away Marblehead's top receiver with double coverage. So, Marblehead didn't really have much of an answer in terms of their run game or pass game. But, I feel pretty confident that we have some weapons out there that if they want to try to take someone away like that we can be able to adjust and make something happen. So, it's going to be a chess match. It really is. There's a lot of strategies to be involved in this game. A lot of in-game adjustments that may need to be made. So we got to stay on our toes, make sure the kids are prepared, and not over prepare them now. We can't go trying to solve every problem that we think it may happen to us in the game. We're gonna go on what we think is going to be the top the top way they're going to try to defend us, or try to score points against us. And we're going to let the kids go out there and play after that. If we need to adjust in game, we'll adjust in game. But Like I said, I have faith in our athletes, and they got a lot of confidence right now. So they're up for the challenge for sure.
This is something a little new too for a Leominster team. I mean, obviously we always talk about the travel within Central Mass. It's certainly not Texas by any stretch of the imagination, but you're going, from Leominster to Dudley, at 2-ish in the afternoon can sometimes be a challenge. This is an entirely different challenge as the wagons will be going east. Beneficial, I suppose, because you're going in the right direction commute-wise as somebody who spends some time commuting to Eastern Mass. But it's certainly, it's a longer ride. It is a, ride that you want to, keep focused for. But again, as you were just pointing to, there's an over focus too, right? There's a saturation point. There's that balance of being able to stay loose, but also maintain focus.
Yeah. We don't want paralysis by analysis. We want our guys to be able to identify, and attack and get after things. So, we're going to talk about keep our keys simple, what we want to do. And really just, I think with the way our plays are built, at least offensively right now, that we have built-in answers for a lot of different coverages in what we do. And we can always call things at the line if we need to. That was one of the adjustments we made against Shepherd Hill because they came out in different coverages sometimes. And so we ended up just checking, the play at the line, which we can do if we need to. But we feel like most of our plays have answers built into them too. So we want our guys to stay focused, just envision themselves making the plays on the plays that we have and not worry about if you can remember a route on a certain play or remember to blitz in a certain package. We don't want the guys to worry about that stuff. We're going to keep that stuff simple.
Before we leave this point, I will mention, I mentioned it a little bit on the broadcast, by happenstance, the way the schedule worked out last Friday night, I ended up on the field when you guys were kind of running some of your offense down on the field and kind of just going through the motions, so to speak, of this goes here, this goes here, this goes here. And I mean, for an angle that obviously you see in college and the NFL, you don't often see it in high school, getting to be A, at field level, but B, right behind the quarterback and see how the, kind of the world flanks out. You probably see it in practice, certainly more than I ever would. But how much can you learn and see? And obviously that's the way you saw the game through a lot of your career. How much more can you kind of pick up and tell about your team when you're able to kind of sit there and watch it all kind of develop in, kind of that north-south variety?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for a line, there's no better angle than right there to kind of see how things open up and how, obviously roof line of the coverage to see where open spaces might be. So, it's all about what the quarterback sees, and if you're going to be behind there and especially when, obviously passing offense, you want to be able to look at, where those spaces might be. Osiris is the point guard of our offense, and you can see a lot and be able to adjust knowing what his eyes are taking in as well too. And you'll be able to problem solve anything that's happening on the line as well too. So for us, that angle is, we get a tight angle of film and, that's really, really what I like to look at in terms of all of our blocking schemes. So yeah, it's you get a different appreciation of the game from that angle as well.
No question about it. I certainly have a different appreciation for just how big Leominster's 2022 football team is from that angle, to say the least. Before we entirely, kind of move on and promote upcoming coverage here, Coach, let's take a moment and talk a little bit about something that developed and got a lot of social media buzz last night, and that had to do with a touchdown scored by a former Blue Devil on a fun little play where he got to show off his former quarterbacking ability that we saw here in Leominster. And that is, of course, Leominster's Noah Gray, who is playing on Sundays as a tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. And lo and behold, there's Patrick Mahomes, probably one of the best, if not the best quarterback going in the NFL right now, certainly on the younger end of the spectrum. And he's pretending to direct traffic. And here comes good old Noah Gray, who's taken a snap under center before. And there he is into the end zone. Fun little play, something different you don't see very often. And it certainly helps when you have a player with diverse skill sets.
Absolutely. I think Kansas City does the best job of the NFL about using skill sets of everybody they have on the team, whatever outside their positional, skill set, being able to bring in guys and, identify what they're good at outside of that and using that to their advantage. And, brought Noah back to his roots. Went there. It was good form for the quarterback sneak, had his foot back there and was able to accelerate into the end zone. So no, it was fun. It was fun to watch. It was a fun play, and, Kansas City's fun to watch when they get in the red zone for sure.
No question about that. Fun to see somebody who was here at one point in time, who maybe was always a tight end trapped as a quarterback, as opposed to a quarterback who became a tight end for all those years when they were here. Always fun to see that go on. Week 5 action coming up on RFM and RFM Audio as Leominster travels to Peabody on Friday night, October the 7th. Kickoff is scheduled for the traditional 7 o'clock. Means our countdown to kickoff begins at 6 o'clock, as we've got you covered along with our partners on the way to the game, at the game, and on your way home. So 6 o'clock, our countdown to kickoff, the same RFM platforms, YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitch. Leominster TV's live coverage will begin at 6:30 on the channels of Comcast and Verizon and Leominster.tv. And then replays scheduled for this weekend, Saturday, 95.1 FM, WLPZ at noon. And then Sundays, Tucka56radio.com and Tucka56 Radio on Live 365, TUCKA 56 Radio on Live 365 Sunday at noon to relive the Leominster football action from the Friday night game with Peabody. And then, of course, no week begins without the Coach's Corner, Mondays at 9 p.m. right here on RFM. All the breakdown analysis continues on Wednesday on Tucka 56 Radio and Tucka56radio.com. And then Thursdays at 5 p.m. on 95.1 FM, WLPZ and WLPZ.org. That's your upcoming programming information. But Coach, before we go, I would be remiss if we didn't take a moment to remember a former defensive coordinator for Leominster High School, Fitchburg High School, North Middlesex, and then former Oakmont head coach Charlie Raff, who passed away unexpectedly over the weekend. The thoughts and prayers of all of Central Mass football are with his loved ones as they mourn this tragic loss. And I know this one hits particularly close for you, a former teammate of his as well.
Yeah, we Charlie and I were we were teammates at Fitchburg State, and then when I started coaching there, he still played for a while. So, Charlie was always just a great person to be around, larger than life, kind of figure, and just brought energy and passion to everything that he did. We had been closer and kind of further apart, and then closer. Kind of the years have gone by and coaching different places, and probably didn't keep in touch as much as we should, but, I've been more in touch the recent years, with me coaching at Leominster and him at Fitchburg. But, Charlie did so much for the kids in all the communities that he coached, really, and the students that he had as well. And really just gave them confidence to go out and push through tough times and challenging times. And, really, I feel like that's Charlie's legacy. He was a great guy, larger than life, and really put every ounce of energy that he had and passion that he had into the kids that he coached and the students that he had. And, he's going to be sorely missed. It hits hard for a lot of people.
No question about that. I will always remember, as of course we started doing this Coach's Corner show with Leominster High School head coach Dave Palazzi in the years prior to your tenure. And at the time, Charlie Raff was the defensive coordinator on his staff. And it was fun. Although Charlie never appeared on the show, he felt like he was always kind of the shadow that existed in the show, because as Dave would talk about offense, he would talk about how Charlie Raff would push him on his offensive theories with his own defensive counterpoints. And they would sit there and kind of tennis match back and forth, their own positions and beliefs, and try to push and stretch one another. And again, just a life gone far too soon.
Far too soon. Great football mind, just a great mentor to those that he was around, and gone way too soon for sure.
On behalf of Bill Thomas, Kate Robbins, and myself, we'll add our condolences to that chorus of mourners across the football community, to his family and friends at this most difficult time. For Leominster High School head coach Devin Gates, I am Todd Robbins. We'll talk to you again next week right here on the Coach's Corner. Until then, so long, everybody.